Hey, what's up people? Hardleg Joe here, coming at you with the profile for my Karakuri Kombo deck. A go first synchro spam build that uses a Karakuri base alongside Earth Machine support like Infinitracks and Machina, who set up multiple forms of disruption that float into even more disruption. Going over our deck list, we've got 1 Chainsaw Bot, 3 of his older brother, 3 Mecha Fox, Row, Fight the Power, 3 Moroku, 3 Killdozer, a card that makes me wish I hadn't already used Chainsaw Bot, because this clearly deserves the title more, Robo Poseidon, Cyber Naruto, Deep Blue, 3 Steampunk Real Dolls, 3 Mecha Merchmen, a Barrel, a Tractor, and 3 of my friend Fraug. For spells, we're playing 3 of the old Dupe and Scoop, 3 Infinirota, and 1 Premature Burial for Karakuris. Our only traps are 3 Cha-Ching, and 3 tickets to the Trishula vs. Ashelon fight. As for our extra deck, it's got 2 Burritos, 2 Beavers, the other one, and 1 each of Blacker Rose Dragon, some kind of spike, the Cat that eats spell cards, a big Tonka Truck, a little Tonka Truck, the Phoenicorn, Albert Einstein, Hal, and the Brave Little Toaster. The side deck I'll go over in a bit. So thematically, the Karakuris are pretty neat. They are based on ye olde wooden clockwork robots, and their effects reflect that. Most of the main deck monsters have the effect that they must attack if able, because once they're wound up, they just keep marching forward until they hit something. Additionally, most of them have effects related to changing battle position, which mechanically resembles the turning of a gear. Most of the main deck monsters shift battle position when they're targeted for an attack. Their thematic trap allows you to change a Karakuri's battle position to negate a monster effect, and their 2 boss monsters have effects that trigger when a Karakuri changes battle position. Buredo draws a card, while Burebu banishes a card your opponent controls. If you can get several of these on the field, then together they form this neat little chain reaction. Using the trap turns one gear, which triggers the mechanism in the others, allowing you to draw and or banish several cards during your opponent's turn. This theme of chain reactions extends to the Synchro Monster's other effects as well. All 3 of them say, when this card is Synchro summoned, special summon a Karakuri from the deck. You heard that right. Every single extra deck monster in this archetype is a Haukafibrax, which means once you get your combos started, they tend to keep going, especially if you happen to open with some extenders. In archetype, our main extender is this lovely lady, who grants an additional normal summon each turn, while also being a level 3 tuner. Outside of the archetype, we have Machina Fortress, which can essentially discard any Karakuri to summon itself from the hand, along with Gizmek Uka, which summons itself from the hand if either player summons a monster from the main deck, which, you know, happens to include every single one of our synchros. Both of these are level 7 Earth machines, which is important for several reasons. 1, the Karakuri synchros require machines. 2, we have several effects that lock us into exclusively summoning Earth machines for the turn. And 3, being level 7 allows us to easily make our level 8 synchro as long as we have the Fraug. The Fraug is the best tuner. Not only is it level 1, which makes it really easy for our synchros to climb into each other, but it has a graveyard effect. During either player's turn, you can banish it to change a Karakuri's battle position. Which means even if you don't draw into your trap, you still have a way to trigger all your synchros during your opponent's turn, and even during your turn if you need to. It's not uncommon to get all 3 Fraugs into the graveyard with 1 combo, which means you're free to use 1 during your turn to trigger your burritos, draw extra cards, and still have 1 to continue for next turn. Speaking of combos though, let's look at a simple example. In this case, I'll show you what I can do with just 2 cards. This will also give me a chance to explain these cards, which I haven't done yet. Alright, so this merchant, just by itself, is a 1-card starter. When it's normal summoned, you can add a Karakuri from deck to hand. In this case, we're going to pick the Monk, but if you already have the Monk, you could just as easily get any other Karakuri to help you extend, along with the spell card, which also helps you extend by summoning a Karakuri out the graveyard, or a copy of your trap for additional disruption. But yeah, this time, we're going with the Monk. He can change the battle position of a Karakuri on the field to summon himself from the hand as a tuner, which is important because now that we have these two, we can make our level 7 synchro. Like all the Karakuri synchros, this summons a monster from the deck when summoned. What you get depends entirely on your hand. Even if you have nothing else, you can always get the Frog. That'll go into your level 8, which can summon another Frog, which helps you go into level 9, and then you'll end on your banishing monster with 2 frogs in the graveyard to trigger it. In this case, though, since all we have is the Infinitrack in hand, we're going to go for our Geisha. Again, this is where you could extend if you had more Karakuris in hand, since she gives you another normal summon. Since we don't have any Karakuris though, we're just going to go into our Infinitracks Machina combos by tributing our Synchro to summon Dozer. Take note of this field, we'll come back to it. Now Dozer summons any Infinitrack from the deck when it's summoned, and you'll want to choose the Chainsaw, for reasons I'll explain later. For now, you've got 2 level 5s on the field, which means you can summon your River Stormer. Hey, how's it going? This can detach a material in order to search any Earth machine or send one to the graveyard. Most of the time I use this to send Citadel to the grave. It summons itself whenever an Earth machine gets destroyed, and it can nuke the field once per turn, so getting it established is another key form of disruption. That being said, if this is already in the grave, or if you prefer a different kind of disruption, you could just as easily search any extender instead. Because not only are all the Karakuris Earth machines, so is your Machina Fortress, so is your Uka, like, the whole deck is Earth machines. But yeah, for now though, we just dump Chainsaw hand. With that done, we're gonna link away our Ixie with the Link 1 Infinitrack. This will put both of our level 5s in the graveyard, which is important because now we can use the effect of Chainsaw, the green Chainsaw. We banish it from the graveyard to summon back Dozer. There we go. And would you look at that, we're back at the start of our Infinitrack combo, except now we have a Machina in the graveyard and this little goofy bastard on the field as well. But yeah, with that done, it's time to go back into Karakuri combos. 5 plus 3 allows us to sync for 8. And this, of course, summons from the deck. Since we have no other extenders, we're just going to go for Frog, which allows us to climb into our level 9. And of course, the level 9 also summons from the deck. Normally, you don't want to put that in defense position. That was a mistake. It's fine, though. It's fine. But yeah, we can't extend any further with this, so you don't need to summon. But I usually summon out one of these, just because of the fact that if it survives until next turn, then we'll have another normal summon. But yeah, this is what we're going to end on in this case. We've got a banish during the opponent's turn, a Frog in the graveyard to trigger that banish, as well as a wall of 3 monsters that your opponent can't destroy without summoning Citadel in the graveyard. It's not much, but remember, this was all done with just 2 cards. With a full starting hand of 5 cards, we can usually make multiple of these, along with several Burritos for 2 additional draws, which will usually get us into at least one of our traps for even more disruption. If you want to see those non-linear combos, though, you're just going to have to watch the full episode, because I can't go into every single possibility here. I will cover the rest of the deck, though, because we play a lot of one-ofs. Most of our Karakuri one-ofs are just different levels to help you out of specific situations. Hypa is a 2100 beat stick for closing out games where you need just a little extra damage. And Quick summons a Karakuri from the graveyard if it destroys something by battle, which can occasionally serve as decent recovery if your deck is half empty. Both of these are level 4, meaning you can make our level 7 starter if you happen to open with them or Geisha. And you can also make Naturia Beast along with Frog, assuming you haven't locked yourself into machines. A Strategist, meanwhile, is just another level 3 tuner who is mostly useful because he changes a Karakuri's battle position on summon, which can let you trigger your synchro effects mid-combo without having to waste one of your fraugs. Finally, there's the Barrel, who's just a level 2 tuner. Sometimes you need it in order to go from your 7 straight into your 9. As for our Infinitracks, we play a few one-ofs for those as well, because they're all easily summoned with Dozer and easily searched with Heavy Forward. Chainsaw is for our Citadel combo, as you saw. Tunneler is Recovery. It can banish itself from the grave in order to shuffle 5 Earth Machine monsters back into the deck and draw 2 cards. If your board gets partially or fully destroyed, this can allow you to reset all your synchros while drawing you 2 fresh cards to hopefully combo off again. Finally, we got our one-of Harvester, which is mostly just played to prevent bricks. There's times when I would open with, like, the Infinitrack Searcher and nothing to normal summon, so having this one low-level Infinitrack solves that problem. It also searches an Infinitrack when it's summoned, so even if all you have is this, you can still do your combo to dump Citadel, and, pray that that's enough. All that leaves undiscussed then is our last 2 main deck cards, which are just optional tech cards. Machine Dupe is kind of a win more thing. It can turn a decent combo into a nigh unstoppable combo by summoning 3 frogs or 3 geishas right out of the deck. It also triggers your Gizmek, which is kind of neat. It's not required by any means though, and it does sometimes brick your hand, so, you can get rid of it if you need to. Ice Dragon's Prison, meanwhile, is just another generic trap card to give this deck one more bit of disruption. It's also the only thing we have in here that can counter Dragoon. Honestly, you could play anything here though, Compulse, Solemns, Twin Twisters if you're worried about spell trap removal, or you could just remove this spot entirely and replace it with like an upstart goblin so you have a nice 40 cards. It's your call, buddy. The same philosophy with the extra deck. If there's a card in here I haven't covered yet, it's not really required to do your plays, which means you can replace it with whatever you want. I'd recommend Genius, since you sometimes need an Earth Machine Link 2 to clear room, and Naturia Beast can completely shut down some decks, and you can make it fairly easily. But other than that, I rarely make the rest of these, so just do whatever, man. As for the side deck, it's mostly just alternative options. There's a couple more Earth and or Machine monsters that you can summon that might be useful in this deck, as well as some generic stuff you can make if you can get around the restrictions. It's the Infinitracks and the Karakuri Monk that lock you into just Earth Machines, so if you could somehow remove them from the deck and still combo, you could potentially do all sorts of crazy shit, like summon 2 of the level 9 Synchros, and then use them to make very fun Dragon. Other than that, Turbo Booster is a level 1 Earth Machine that could help you extend further, might also be useful going second. Urgent Schedule is definitely good going second, so make sure to side that in game 2. Pot of Avarice has some potential here since you often combo half your deck into the graveyard on turn 1, and this could just turn that into more combos, more trap cards. And the Karakuris have their own Mirror Force, which might be kind of fun as a one-of since you can search it. It will always be telegraphed as hell, but that's kind of the point. You force your opponent to waste resources on a back row that they know they can't run into, otherwise they're gonna lose everything. Kind of a silly card, but I'm kind of a silly man. Anyway, though, that's it for the deck. Like the video if you liked it, comment down below if there's any changes you would make, and subscribe if you want more strange deck profiles in general. I do one of these every other week. Regardless, thanks again for watching, and until next time, good luck, and have fun.